I'm Ron Guanazzo, one of Chicago's most successful treasure hunters.
It's about the potential.
I work the beaches and parks every spare minute I can, finding all kinds of cool and valuable stuff.
Gold, silver, platinum, earrings, chains, coins, medallions, you name it and I've found it.
Over the past 7 years, I've been coming to Britain in search of relics much older than I could ever find in the States.
It's about the history, touching an object and realizing the last person to touch that was walking the earth with Christ.
Now I've been invited to test my skills in one of the most hostile detecting environments I've ever seen, in the mud of the River Thames in London.
First coin on the Thames, right there.
For a few days only, I'm going to be teaming up with a bunch of amateur archaeologists known as the Mudlarks.
You've got so much history around you and you could go away with a real treasure.
George II, 1753.
To make the job even tougher, we've only got a couple hours each day before they're washed away forever by the tide.
I was hoping to find any coin. Find a jet and it is wonderful. Time to catch my flight. I'm off to hunt for a week with the Mudlarks. Do some digging on the Thames. Do some treasure hunting, see if we can find some good stuff.
Not everyone is allowed to search the mud. I've been granted a special permit with a whole bunch of rules attached. There's about 50 licensed mudlarks working the river who have all made historically valuable discoveries. So I'm going to be taught the ropes by two of the most experienced, Andy and Ian.
All right, well, there you go, Ron. Your first steps on the foreshore. What do you think?
Awesome. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay, and my permit allows me to detect up to 3 inches?
Yeah, you can go up to 3 inches, that's right, and scrape, yeah,
okay.
in this area. Just a few sort of safety tips to start with, really. First of all, obviously it's quite slippery and muddy, so you've got to kind of be careful. Just obvious things with it. You don't sort of fall over on the slime.
Okay.
Really, just keep an eye on the tide. Just make sure you don't get cut off.
The Mudlarks are the only amateur archaeologists allowed to dig on the Thames River. They've got just a couple hours each low tide to search and retrieve any artifacts they discover buried in the river's mud.
Andy, what's the sign for?
Me permit number. Being as I'm a mudlark, I need to, when I'm on the foreshore, especially if I'm digging, it's for Port of London Authority boats when they go past. At least they can see who's down on the foreshore. And
They don't have to bug you in.
that's, well, yeah, it saves their time. And
When I hunt the beaches in Chicago, a lot of the stuff that we find out on the beaches, gold, silver, it's all round, shiny things. Everybody likes round, shiny things, and it's all modern stuff. To get back into the River Thames, where you could find finds 2,000, 3,000 years old, to hold that kind of history in your hand, it's amazing. I was really surprised with the amount of debris and garbage down there. I turned my detector on, and there were just literally signals everywhere. My machine was just going crazy. Every swing, there were 5 or 6 beeps, so I really couldn't even separate anything. It was crazy. It's the worst detecting situation I've ever been in 28 years.
Just like when you work in the beaches, you can't get too close to the other guys because we start detecting each other.
Are you getting any chatter from me or interference at all?
a little bit, but not too much, no.
Okay. I won't get too close.
There is so much debris that's been thrown in over the last 2,000 years. Glass, broken nails, things like that. Lots of stuff you can cut yourself on. So all the mudlarks wear gloves. I guess there's a disease that you can get, Weil's disease or Fort Bragg fever, and I think it comes from animal urine or rat urine or something, so it's pretty disgusting down there.
Let's go get muddy. I don't know how thick this... Ooh. Yeah.
Welcome to the Mudlarks, Ron. You've really initiated now.
Didn't go over the top.
Andy Johansson's a mudlark, and he spends a lot of time on the foreshore. And I guess he's really, really good at reading the foreshore, knowing what areas are really good to dig in, the danger signs, especially mud pools, which I actually walked through one during the thing, and he was like, "Oh, don't go," after I was done.
See these pleasure boats, when they've got to clean their hulls and do a bit of repainting, repairs or whatever, they kind of back themselves up onto this flat area. Of course, the rudder just takes away a load of mud, and then when they pull away again, it fills up with this soft stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, you walk along and then you start getting deeper and deeper.
But it's this deep, sticky mud that often contains the best artifacts, perfectly preserved historical treasures. Andy showed me this amazing 400-year-old child's coach he found not far from here.
Well, that's a little toy. It's a coach, yeah. You got 2 figures each side, and the coachman in the front there.
Now, is it silver or
No, it's a pewter.
pewter? When it was new, this coach would have come flat-packed, so the child could make the toy himself, just like the model kits I played with when I was a kid. Finding this sort of stuff is what makes the mudlarks keep coming back to the river.
The history is the big thing. There's always the money behind the thing. What is it worth? How rare is it? But for the mudlarks, and for myself as well, it's more about the history. It's about the significance of the find and tying it into a story.
It's amazing that such fragile objects can survive being churned around for centuries in the river mud without being crushed, eroded, or washed away.
So the tides on the foreshore move extremely fast. I was amazed at how fast they move. From the time it hits low tide, you've got like an hour, hour and a half, depending, and there's really a limited window of time to actually go down and detect or dig. The current is so fast that if the tide comes up and you're not paying attention, you get cut off from your exit, the river would sweep you away. You'd be gone.
Not all mudlarks use metal detectors. Ray Love, one of the few female mudlarks, uses only her eyes. That's why she's always looking down, scraping trowel at the ready.
Hey, Ray, could I bug you for a minute? Can I get a little lesson on how to do a scrape? I'd rather learn now than at the end when I'm done.
Basically, it's just scraping it water, just slowly on the top.
And you're just looking for shapes? Or?
Gradually, yeah, just basically anything. I mean, ideally, if there's pins out, all the better. You know, you're bound to find something somewhere.
Right. I just found 2 pipe stems right here sticking out, so...
Exactly, yeah, but if you scrape it to water, it literally pulls it out, and hopefully you land up with a coin or a piece of, you know, jewellery or something that's here.
Even if I did find a coin or some jewelry, I'm not sure I'd even recognize it. At least I'm not the only one not finding stuff.
I mean, the first thing I found was a really nice pin, but that's what I mean. If I'm finding the pins, why are the coins and jewellery and buckles and things like that not there? It's mad. They're there, they're just waiting to be discovered.
The tide just started coming in, and I haven't found anything yet. I'm struggling with all the iron and stuff down here, so hopefully I can find something. We don't have much time left.
I'll make it 9:15. Yeah. So this is as low as it's going to go now. That's the official low tide, 0.8. So this is as low as it's going to go today.
How long do we have till we got to get out?
well, maybe an hour, I suppose. Okay. Maybe. So we can put this little marker in. We don't normally do this, but it's just as an idea so you can see.
So I can keep track of where it's at?
Where the tide's coming in, and then you'll know.
All right, the clock is ticking. Let's go.
Yeah, not long now.
Detecting on the Thames is a little bit different. You know, when you're in a field, you have your headphones on, it's very quiet, it's very zen for me. This is a very relaxing time. But on the Thames, there's so many dangers, there's so many things you have to watch. Ian put the red flag out, and it was just another thing for me to watch to make sure that I knew where the tide was, how much time I had left, just a safety issue.
Every mudlark's had a close call, even the most experienced, like veteran Mackie Duff.
It was very dangerous. You had to go across a bridge onto a floating dock. Down the floating dock, which is about a 25 to 30 foot, that's probably 30-foot ladder, down, across the little stream. I just didn't realise. And I've looked round, I thought, I've got at least 40 minutes. Well, I gave it about another 3 minutes. My bag was actually floating off down the Thames. So I managed to get my detector, run towards the stairs. This now is over the top of my waders and up to my waist. And bearing in mind the current in the Thames is astronomical. So I've had to climb this 30-foot ladder with waders full of water, a detector, a bag, and soaking wet. It would have been another few seconds later, I'd have been gone with it.
It's a very narrow window of opportunity, searching at the low water mark. But that's where all the best stuff should be. Sure enough.
Jules II and warm.
A smooth copper penny from before the American Revolution. So worn you can barely see the king's head. But at least we're starting to find stuff.
You can see it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the third one so far.
Is it?
Yeah.
This must be a hot spot. 3 meters away and 30 seconds later, I get lucky myself.
First coin on the Thames right there.
It's another Georgian, isn't it? Oh no, it's modern. It's
modern.
10 pence.
A 20-year-old modern coin. But that's the risk you take with mudlarking. Everything gets mixed up in the mud.
Spend it wisely.
No, this one will never be spent.
But it's all mixed up. There's modern, there's 17th century, 18th century stuff. As the silks get washed away, it all kind of mingles in together.
It's 17th century basketball. And a big one at that. They're normally quite a lot smaller than that. It's not actually hitting it. I mean, normally you get one side to be sort of completely crushed as it hits stone or the person, like, but this one's actually been made and dropped. It's still quite a nice find. Could have even been the one that went through my flask.
With the tide coming in quickly, it's time to get off the mud.